RantCast. All right, welcome to the RantCast. We're live on Twitch, and I'm just gonna do a quick sound check because I got some guests tonight. And what's happening?
No, you don't.
No,
you don't.
Invaders.
No, you
don't. All right.
Possibly from space.
You're just a little bit muffled there. Invaders from space, did you say?
Possibly from space. Unfortunately, I am on a phone headset, so this is probably as good as it gets.
Excellent. Well, I was gonna cite the America Online jingle, but I suppose then it would become a sponsored stream, and we'd get audio jungled out of the, get drummed out of the polite world of podcasting. So we won't do that. Okay, well, we've got iKarith with us, and we've also got Karningul.
Hello.
Yeah, Strange Bus is going through some family stuff. We wish him well, but I don't think he's going to be here tonight. But I'm really pleased that you guys could make it. So let me
happy to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Been a little while.
Yeah. And maybe we don't have as much to be angry about. Well, maybe we do. I should only speak for myself here. Let me douse the phone.
Oh, I've got a list if you need a list.
I was trying to, I don't know if either of you ever did much Seinfeld, but think of the Festivus, the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people, and you're going to hear about them.
I can relate, and I'm familiar. Yeah, it's one of those
I'm
shows
really
where
a fan of the show, but you can't help but know about Festivus.
Yeah, for the rest of us. Yeah, it was not a show that I watched regularly, but I mean, over the years, people say, you know, there's an episode of Seinfeld that sums up what I'm feeling right now, and I'd be like, really? Okay, and then they would like, you know, point me in that direction and watch it. Okay, I see where you're coming from. I see what you're trying to say here.
Right.
All right, we are live. Okay, episode 31. Get OGRE here. I don't know if we're going to talk about Star Wars or not, so I really should remove those topics. Yeah, so there's some stuff here. There are some Star Wars topics, but I'm like, man, Strange Bus isn't here.
I'm not in the loop on Star Wars anymore.
Well, and this is not like, oh, what's happening, you know, with TV shows or actors or, you know, companies. This is more like there's a Dark Forces remake out there.
That's cool.
Remaster, I should say. Remaster. And some people who've been in the loop have been aware of it for a long time because there's a project out there called the Force Engine, where it's basically just this guy came up with his own engine, and if you had the Dark Forces CD or you bought it from wherever, Steam or GOG or whatever, you just feed it through his little engine and it just interprets it. And so you're really playing a new game, but it kind of simulates what the old game was like with just fancier graphics and mouse aiming and high resolution and all this stuff. But that's his project, and yet there's also this I think it's called Night Diver. They did their own version, which they're selling, which you can buy. It's like a self-contained product, and they're not in competition with one another. It's just they kind of compared notes.
Night Diver has done a couple of other things that have been really good, so
okay.
I at least have some high hopes for that.
Yeah, so if anybody remembers, I mean, I remember playing Dark Forces on the PC, and I remember it being like really difficult. I mean, it was much harder than Doom. I don't know if it was as hard as Duke Nukem 3D, but it was, you know, it was interesting at the time. I was much more into like Jedi Knights, Dark Forces 2, but I mean, it's had a hardcore community all these years, and yeah, so I feel like we'll cover it maybe more on his show. So you guys aren't super familiar with it, but maybe you should check it out. And there's also something to do with Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. I think that's getting the classic release. But again, we're not talking about like a later release that a lot of people think of. We're talking about like the first releases. So there was a Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, which came out around 2004, or well, that the first one anyway. The second one, I forget.
Possibly available soon for iPhone. Heh, heh, heh.
Yeah. So there's always there's always issues with when you're porting stuff. But supposedly they're going to bring back the classic multiplayer, and I'm thinking, man, that could be a whole show because I remember that game. Like you could get down, you could go prone because it's a Star Wars, first person shooter, third person shooter. Get into vehicles. It's like Battlefield, except it's Star Wars. But you could crawl on your belly. But people figured out there were certain walls, like inside canyons and stuff, that you could like crawl backwards inside the wall, and so you were completely concealed, but you could still snipe people. And people complained like, "Oh man, this is so cheap. You should fix this." And so what they did was to fix it, they just released a sequel where you couldn't go prone anymore. It's like, wait, that's not much of a fix. So I don't know. It'll be interesting because I know when Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy were ported to the Wii and the PS4, like there was an accident where they called it an accident where PC users could log into those servers. And so they were just mopping the floor with people who were trying to play with like controllers and they were playing with like mouse and keyboard and they were people complain because they're like, man, I can't get any kills. I'm getting pwned here. And so then they made the servers separate. So they got rid of crossplay. It's like, no, dang it. So it seems like there's always shenanigans with these releases. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Dark Forces didn't have any multiplayer at the time, so there's nothing to screw up there. But yeah, Battlefront, I suppose.
Being a bit of a programmer, the correct solution to a map where somebody can basically crawl backwards outside of the map and just snipe people from outside
Yeah.
is to release a patch of the map for the server where there's a kill plane on the other side of that wall. And if you back up into the kill plane, you just splatter.
Yeah. As opposed to taking away that whole
Yeah.
aspect of gameplay. Yeah. Well, that makes a certain amount of sense, as opposed to, well, they'd have to like find all the holes in the map and stop people from. Yeah, I don't know. Because I was thinking they could make the background transparent, but then there's no cover at all. Then you can't hide behind anything. You just shoot people through, buildings and stuff, which would be even more ridiculous. But yeah, I guess those kill planes, you do see those in other games. But yeah, it seemed like at the time, gee, they're just too lazy to fix it. Well, I specifically encouraged Karningul to join us this time because, hey, a strange bus. It's popping in to say hello. Greetings, sir. Yep. I was gonna say I brought in Karningul specifically because you had some things to say about Against the Ogre Horde, I believe. Was that wrong?
Sure. No, I absolutely.
I think you guys probably both have things to say. I'm so foolish because I was like, man, I got to get my thoughts out immediately. I just got to do all this stuff. And so people were like sending me links to, oh, here's like an image from Can, and it's showing Against the Ogre Horde, and I'm like, post it, and like, okay, I'm done for the day. Nope, there's something else. And so I was like on my computer like for hours, just people kept coming back, and here's a little thing. It's like, man, all these other YouTubers, they're waiting till like everything is finished and the dust is settled, then they make their big video covering everything, and that's what Elvira was doing. It's like, dang it, I should have done that. But I don't know. I was so excited. I was having a good time. But let me get the link up here so we can kind of see what's happening. I'm just gonna grab my own video. How about that? Can't audio jungle myself. Welcome to HeroQuest fans. Okay, we'll just get rid of the sound. So we'll have some background. Welcome to HeroQuest fans. I'm like telling myself to shut up here. Yeah, actually my voice is kind of shot too, so that's the other reason I brought you guys here. Just kidding. So this was the unboxing that I did. And I wasn't the first. Lion's review actually got in ahead of me. So kudos to him. I know it's not about being first, it's about being right. But I always want to be first, and I'm never first. It's a silly game that we
So,
play.
I have not been following things with Avalon Hill that closely
Mhm.
at all.
Are you worried about spoilers? Because you might want to avert your eyes for this one.
Oh no, I'm familiar with Against the Ogre Horde, and I'm the new release.
Got a knife.
The question I'm wondering about is how are things doing at the company?
Yeah,
Is what
that's the bigger question, and that's usually what
I
we're
mean,
talking about.
are they even talking to us? I mean, they're not going to tell us how things are doing internally, obviously,
Well,
but are they even talking to us yet?
So we have, yeah, Karningul, you're probably wondering as well. I don't pretend to have secret insider knowledge, but yeah, there was the Hasbro layoffs, and we were all concerned at the time. I mean, I was so emotional about it, I implied that I thought that HeroQuest might die, completely. Like maybe they're just going to shut the whole thing down. It's like, okay, that was a little extreme because it was making money for them. I mean, companies have done stupid things in the past before. I mean, stupid from our point of view. But as far as I know, Carmine and Avalon Bill are, I mean, they're still out there. Occasionally they'll talk to people. They can't say a lot, but I mean, their point is to, get back to work wherever they can. And the only person that I know of that's identified themselves that's talking to us from Avalon Hill is Doug Hopkins. So he's the quest rules mechanics guy. And I mean, he occasionally posts as Wandering Monster in the Avalon Hill Discord. So he's said a few things, and it's always been either neutral or positive. But I mean, he's not talking about
I've seen Doug's
company
post.
direction.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize that was Doug.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He identified himself as such. I don't know who's posting on Instagram or X. It's just Avalon Hill,
engagement in the Discord though is much like he doesn't post much,
No.
and there isn't anybody else. Yeah, it's
No,
not even close to what it was before.
And
he's got things to do.
Yeah, I'm not personally blaming him. I'm sure that
No, it's more that
this
it
was
feels
not
like
they wanted.
they don't seem to have a person whose job can entail community outreach anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
that's very evident to me, and I it's too bad because I missed that. I enjoyed that. I mean, there's some people in the community, I'm not going to single anybody out, but there's some people that are like, oh man, these fans, quit, spreading rumors, just, shut the heck up. I'll wait for the official thing. It's like, yeah, but I get what you're trying to say, but there is no official person. Like, at least there's somebody here to like calm us down, and say, hey, I mean, they're not feeding us sweet little lies. They're actually, encouraging us, because that's what Encarmi would do. He would drop us little hints. He would kind of lead us off on, wild goose chases. But I mean, he'd give us some real information, kind of keep us in the loop, as opposed to just who knows what's happening, until the next release happens.
What he did a lot of that really, really mattered was he would explain to people in the broadest sense possible, because he couldn't give any more details. He would explain, this is why this is this way.
Yes.
It's going to take time. I mean, like when people panicked over the night, he said, they obviously posted a message. It was kind of cryptic, saying the night will be back. And I mean, we obviously know what that looks like now.
Yeah.
But I mean, he also would say things to, just talking to me, saying, we're lucky if our turnaround time is 10 months right now. He couldn't say how long it was.
Yeah. Well,
but a year later, what have we got?
Yeah.
So,
well, I know that. Yeah. I mean, I know he talked to certain people, and he, I think people were very respectful. It's like, okay, well, I'm just going to give you this one hint now. Can't say more, kind of like, or keep it to yourself for now, but this other thing's going to happen. And
he only once ever told me something that was not immediately for the public to know. And I mean, that's just that he didn't, because you can't.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he never told me anything that was not.
You get fired. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I still try. I'd be like, hey, can you tell us this? He's like, nope.
Of course you'd try. Of all people, you would try. He only ever told me one thing, and he actually did tell everyone else a day later. It was, he told me basically the night before he decided how he wanted to word it to other people. And it was basically, as long as we're doing stuff that is not commercial, and as long as we're, playing with old release stuff, stuff that's been out there forever, we've been doing it all this time, they've decided to leave it alone. As long as it's not commercial, it's fine. I told him that we were going to stay away from the new stuff. He said, that would be appreciated, but even some of that, like something I never really did but wanted to do, million things on my to-do list.
Yeah, you're talking about
is to reformat. I wanted to reformat the manuals that they released, like the quest book and the rules.
Yeah.
So that they were more accessible. The new icons and everything are lower contrast and harder to see. That was the thing about the old icons, was that they were, because the designs were so simplistic, everything looked like its own thing.
It was very recognizable.
Yeah, and I mean, the new things just look like everybody stepped on. It looks like every monster just stepped on a Lego, or is having a really great time. Take your pick.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, are you guys seeing the stream on Twitch? Okay, because OBS is giving me some grief here. I was trying to fix the chat and it just is loading. No, it looks like it's playing okay. Y'all still with me?
Yeah. I wasn't looking at it, so I was trying to load it up in the background here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I usually actually don't have the Twitch open when I'm on because...
Yeah, turn your radio down. Yeah, they always say.
Well, I can also see the video stream Discord, so...
Turn your radio off.
Yep. Okay, what happened to my display? Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was showing my unboxing here. So Ribby is here, and he just was passing through, and Joe. Hey, Joe. So yeah, welcome to the RantCast. So as far as we know, I mean, Hasbro is still chugging along. I mean, they've lost people in various departments. I'll be honest with you, I'm not heavily focused on Wizards of the Coast or anything like that. And I mean, I pay attention to Hasbro.
Wizards is kind of...
Yeah, I focus on it.
Gentle.
Yeah, I focus on HeroQuest. So I mean, yeah, stuff could be happening in the world of G.I. Joe or Transformers or whatever, and I wouldn't necessarily know about it. But yeah, when people leave the Avalon Hill team, I feel it. We all feel it. So we were looking at this release and thinking, hey, at least some of their work is in this. We can still say congratulations in what we're seeing. Yeah, sorry, what were you saying there?
I'm paying attention to. I'm turn your radio off. It's working.
It's working.
Yeah. So as I was starting to say, I've been paying attention to the state of Hasbro as a whole, because if Hasbro is doing badly, that affects everybody. But man, the people that I cared about at Wizards of the Coast, they lost their jobs. The people I cared about at Avalon Hill, half of those guys lost their jobs too. There's a few people left. I don't even know who all is left at Avalon Hill still to this day, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I only ever
Doug
found out about those two.
Yeah, well, Doug is there. That's important. Patrick is around somewhere. That's important.
Well, and Stephen Baker is not an official member of the team.
He wasn't. And I mean, they're going to continue to contract with him because that's
freelance
that's
vendor.
part of the marketing.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I haven't had a chance to talk with Chris or anything because I don't. Part of that is I want to give him time and space to like find new employment, and with his background, I'm sure he's got to have found something already. And I would be very disappointed if, the state of the economy right now, he hasn't.
Yeah, and
But,
I won't say anything on that front. Although I was kind of half joking, but kind of half not. I was thinking like, man, if these guys could go both work for Games Workshop, and then like,
I mean, they would be if he applied there, they would be dumb to say no.
I mean, and I was saying like, man, it's such a self-serving thing. It's like, man, if you guys could make Space Crusade happen, like make it come back, like, oh, they're doing a collaborative project again. Hey,
Space Crusade is wholly owned by Hasbro. It would only come back under Hasbro, and it would be without the Warhammer. It would be like they did with HeroQuest, and it'd be cool if they did it because it's a fun game.
I was thinking that, yeah.
But I mean, all they really have to do to scratch that itch, for the most part, for a lot of us, is Games Workshop needs to actually like release Space Hulk and actually make sure that you can actually buy the damn game.
That's always the problem. The availability.
There's my Games Workshop rant for the day. I mean, come on, you guys have your own stores. You can make sure the fucking game was actually in stock for more than 5 minutes every 6 months.
Feels like what's been going on with Amazon and Ogre Horde.
Oh yeah.
Someone will be like, "Hey, it's shipping again," and then it's gone half an hour later.
And it's gone. All your money's gone.
Yeah. In theory, I have mine tomorrow.
Well,
I jumped in and was able to snag one of them.
So, and Amalgamash beat me to it. He said, maybe they won't do pre-orders. They'll just do orders. I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna argue with that. I'm the anti pre-order guy. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm making it more of a thing than it is, but
it's more that I think it's awkward when it comes out on other platforms first.
Like, and we're releasing in 3, 2. Oh, actually, it was out a week ago. Oh. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
But I mean, they made an announcement this time. They were like, well, it's coming out on or around March 1st at several places, like several retailers and online stores. So it's like, get it wherever you can. So, it's like,
the main thing I didn't want to see is any more exclusives.
Yep.
Find exclusives. The company loves those things. The company loves it.
And they get hammered every time they try. But yeah, they keep trying. They keep trying.
Well, that's just like, I've been quiet at places. Maybe people couldn't tell, but because I sat down with dinner that was a little late being delivered 15 minutes before the show. So I've been like finishing while we're talking here. And I just had a vaccine, so I have some cold symptoms going on. So that's fun, too.
All right. Well, if you have to excuse yourself, no.
The rant is Wendy's. If you guys heard about that one. They just announced, surge pricing. We didn't say surge pricing. Sure. But that's what you intend. And everybody knows that's what you intend.
This has nothing to do with that carbonated beverage with the green logo back in the day. Surge.
We are going to actually lower prices. Oh, so you mean your prices are actually higher than they need to be, and you're price gouging? Good to know. So yeah, they're talking about, we're going to lower our prices, but of course that's just the lure to get you to not be mad with the idea, so that they can boil that frog and raise the prices later.
Man, I was gonna say I haven't eaten fast food in a long time, but my weakness is still junk food. So I'm not saying I'm so high and mighty either. But
your garbage just isn't fried.
Yep. If you're gonna eat garbage, you might as well fry it, right? Fry it in grease. Yeah. So I was able to get against the Ogre Horde pretty easily. I thought, I'm just gonna go for it. This time GameStop was like, oh yeah, we don't carry board games. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I was just in your store like a couple weeks ago and you had HeroQuest right on the shelf. And they're like, oh well, once we sell out of those, they're gone, and you can check our website. It's like, dang. So
Yeah.
Amazon it was, and yeah, they were like, it's available. It's just like order. Like, oh, not pre-order, order. And then yeah, within a few hours it was gone. And people were like, dang it, and then it's like, oh, it's back. Yeah, just like you say. And it's like every few hours, it's like, oh, they got it some more in, and then people bought them, and then, yeah. So, but I mean, it's still early. I mean, the official release
Yeah, I mean,
date
it's
was
not even the
the
official
first.
release date yet.
Yeah, it's a leap year, so
If
we got an
you
extra
want,
day.
Yeah.
if you want it to be like properly, like you order it and you will get it,
Yeah,
and you can order it today and you will get it.
we're just
They want you to shop at Hasbro Pulse.
yeah, we're just super fans, and I figure it's like, I mean, I'm not complaining. It's just like, oh, there's a chance I could get it early, and I'm not paying any extra, or anything. So yeah, why not? But yeah, it's like at the same time, I mean, am I gonna get to play this like right now? I mean, I kind of thought about it. It's like, oh man, we should play on the stream. It's like, nah, that's not gonna work. We're just doing a rant cast. So yeah, it's gonna sit on the shelf, and by the time we actually play it, it's like, well, I could have just gone to the store and bought it. It's like, okay, well, same difference. But then I get to do the unboxing and rub the cards and talk about what the texture is like and everything.
Yeah, I think the thing that remains frustrating, like I'm not at all a fan of pre-orders, just like you said, but
Mhm.
when it just sort of randomly starts popping up here and there without actually even an official, like, it's now in stores announcement. There was the it's going to be in stores announcement.
Yeah.
And it's not even, as far as I know, it's still not on the US version of the Hasbro Pulse website.
Yeah, I was just checking that face to see if it resembled anybody. I know. No. Okay.
But yeah, so I think that's
It'll
what
probably
frustrates
be on the
a lot of
website
people is that it doesn't.
It will probably be on the Hasbro website tomorrow because tomorrow's when it's supposed to actually.
Yeah,
Well,
I would imagine.
I've run into some people where they're like, I will not buy it until it is on Hasbro Pulse. And it's like, okay. I mean, I don't know why they're saying that, but
I mean,
Call.
if that's the way you're doing it, that's the way you're doing it. That's a
Like-
dumb way to do it,
like
but
I
if that's the way you're doing it,
I will not buy this until it is in Target. Like, okay, you shop at Target. Go for it. More power to you, man, I guess. Yeah. I know that a while back, sometime back, again, when Carmi was still with the company, it was people were asking, well, is HeroQuest numbers, are they going to be affected? Like if I buy from a different store, like are you guys going to lose money and not get as many? It's like it's not going to count if I buy it from Amazon or Entertainment Earth or something. And they're like, no, just I mean the differences are so minimal. Just buy it from wherever, it's going to count. We still get paid. I mean, even if you buy it from eBay, it's like somebody had to buy it initially, so it's kind of like all sales are. But then I know on the RantCast here, we did have a discussion. I'm trying to remember who I was talking with, but we were saying like, well, why do they keep pushing the Hasbro Pulse thing? Well, a lot of things. They want the premium memberships. They want to push those hard. But
and
maybe they
someone is getting more money.
yeah,
For,
they're not
I'll say
losing
it was
money,
the sale.
but they could be making
Right.
a little bit more money maybe.
Right.
They keep the
Some
price.
department is getting more money for us buying off of Hasbro's website.
They can keep the price fixed so that you feel like, man, I want a discount of some kind. I know I'll get the premium membership and I'll save on shipping, rather than going, oh well, I could just get it for $20 less on Amazon or Big Bad Toy Store or wherever. So I mean,
I mean, as long as people, that's
Get it
not
where-
going to make sense as long as people still have reason to have an Amazon Prime membership, because that's also free shipping.
yeah,
Although, another
Yep.
point for the RantCast, it doesn't make sense to have an Amazon Prime membership anymore.
yep.
because Amazon is full of nothing, almost nothing, but drop ship Chinese garbage from Cat Walks on Keyboard brand.
Yeah. But if that's what you're into, man, that is your one-stop shop. Not sponsored. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just, well, this is a board game I enjoy. I kind of want to get my hands on it. I also kind of want to report on it, even though I'm going to be the 50th guy to report on it. But I still want to give my spin. So it's like, okay, well, where can I get it without, shelling out? Okay, I'll get it from over here, or I'll get it from over here. That's fine. Fine by me.
Yeah. I mean, I think my perspective, or what I observe, is just that people would prefer if, Avalon Hill, right, the retailer or the manufacturer, if they were a reliable source that could tell them when they can buy things.
Yeah.
I think it's just the fact that, the thing doesn't, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Someone just randomly notices, hey, this thing is suddenly up on
It's chaos.
Amazon, or whatever.
And
it's like, great, I missed it because I didn't know, because there was no way to know that it was going to be posted there. You just had to be spamming F5 or something.
And thank goodness it wasn't a limited release.
When it was going to be.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that people really want, is just to be able to say, hey, I'd like to be able to use Avalon Hill as a reliable guide for, hey, when should I start looking for retailers to be able to order this from?
Right. Yeah, I mean, for a while, I would go to local game shops, not because necessarily I was going to buy anything, but just to see if they had it, and then just report back like, hey, my place has got it, so that must mean everybody's got it now, right? Because I'm not in a coastal city where everything comes out early. So here I'm just like comparing to Classic against the Ogre Horde. So I guess moving away from the 360 view and the nuts and bolts of releases, what do you guys think of what you've seen so far with this new against the Ogre Horde? Any thoughts?
I haven't looked at the rules specifically. I was looking at what's in the box. What's in the box?
Yeah.
What's in the box is bees.
Bees.
Let's talk.
I mean, I'm really happy. I'm really happy with what's in the box. What's in the box gives me a lot of hope for Wizards of Morcar, which was,
indeed.
Wizards of Morcar. If you were trying to sell that as even an even a Keller's Keep sort of expansion,
It would have to be really marked down. People would be like, "What is this?"
Yeah, because there was so little in that box.
Not everybody's a Classic fan like us and go, "Oh yeah, this is the thing from." They'd just be like, it's smaller and shorter.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I bought the original.
Well, so did I, but I mean,
yeah,
you bought it back in the day. I only bought it.
No, I bought it.
My
secondary market. I wasn't in Europe, so of course I didn't buy it.
Oh, okay.
Kirkman knows this, but my experience with the original game was not the U.S. release.
Yeah, that's interesting.
A friend of mine at the time, I had a really bad experience with D&D. My first DM was a lying cheat who made sure that I died within 5 minutes of rolling up my character, and I alone. So
not very nice.
Yeah.
And he did it repeatedly because he was told this was a. Now I gotta put all this in context. First of all, I was 10. So was my DM.
Yeah.
He was required by the teacher whose classroom we were using that if somebody wanted to play, they'd be allowed to play. Well, he didn't have to play nice necessarily, and he didn't want to.
Yeah, kids can be like that. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still salty, but then, a friend of mine And I had very few friends in school, so one of two. His dad brought him home HeroQuest from the UK. It wasn't out in the US yet, and we loved this game. We absolutely loved this game.
Wow.
So that was my experience, was the UK rules.
Mm-hmm.
So, suddenly when I start playing with Kurgan, we're up against, souped up warriors, chaos warriors, and I'm like, oh crap, they don't go down. So,
yeah. But the good thing is, if your hero dies and you got a potion left, you can save yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas you couldn't. But yeah, it's a little more. It's actually, when you look at the subtle differences, it just think of a long list of subtle differences between that first version in '89 and '90, the second edition, to the North American version. It's almost like a different game. It's almost like a different game. I mean, all the themes are the same, the terminology is the same, the adventures are in the same order more or less, but yeah, there's like just lots of little things that'll throw you off if you're used to one but not the other.
1980s importing of anime from the time period. Mm-hmm. They would import it. They would have no idea what any of these people were saying in Japanese, and they would just write their own script.
Yeah.
And anything that looked like it was inappropriate, they cut, and anything that they could reframe and explain away, they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all that stuff that was lost in translation and culture. So then people end up growing up with that version thinking, like, that's what it is. And then you see the original and you're like, what? What? That's not how it goes. Yeah. I think that's so interesting. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing the HeroQuest fans thing, is bringing in people who haven't played the game in a while, hearing some of their stories or seeing some of their, surprises where, yeah, they had a totally different experience. I just wish I had more opportunities to be a hero instead of Zargon, because then I could see, because you see so much more of that style.
Oh, you are a forever Zargon.
Yeah. I just got to embrace it. I mean, I like it. It's a lot of fun. I've got a family member.
Even a forever Zargon can sit down at somebody else's table once in a while.
Yeah, I can still use the companion app, at least until 2025 or whenever. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
What happens in 2025?
Well, it says this app will be available through June 14th, 2025. That's what it says on the page where you can download it for the PC.
Oh, fuck. They're planning to replace it with like a paid version or some shit.
I don't know. But at the same time, the good news is there's, is it HQuest Master? And there's also something that, what's the guy's name? I always want to call him Death Note. It's not Death Note. There's a guy in our Discord. He's working on like a digital like replacement for the app, basically. And
I mean, that would be cool. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to have the voice. It would be cool if it did, well, especially since. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say a replacement, and it's not like they're trying to just copy it, but they're basically trying to do the same sorts of things that it does. To say, oh, if you want to have a digital Zargon.
The thing is, though,
what?
These days, you could like take some audio clips, because these things are loud, and the corporate. I have no qualms doing this at all, because
re-record the lines.
You just take like old wizards from like TV and movies, and you feed that into your language model, or your AI learning model. And it learns what does an old wizard sound like.
Oh, man.
And then you just have it do the voice of Mentor for, like, reading the quest stuff.
How cool would it be to have, like, Christopher Lee's voice doing it? But at the same time, I don't want to get sued by his estate either. So
I wouldn't want to use a specific somebody, and the reason why I don't want to use a specific somebody is I have no qualms, like taking all of. I'm of the opinion that if buying isn't owning, piracy isn't stealing. So.
Yeah, make a good point there, matey.
So these large corporations that are making sure that we will own nothing and be happy, they have all of these, movies and TV where you have these old wizards, and maybe sometimes they've been like Christopher Lee and, people like him.
Or you could get on Cameo and, find your local old wizard, he's
you
not
could.
doing very much.
You could.
Man,
but the thing about that is you want to actually like have a voice that is, unique to this game, and you could just train an AI model using all of these, because basically all of these large corporations have ensured and will ensure that they're allowed to do this, that they can take whatever they want, and that the copyright will not apply because it's an artificial creation. And there's reasons to say that, yes, if you could, mimic a voice or do an impression of somebody. I've been told that I do a pretty good Donald Trump impression. It's just an impression.
Yeah, but it gets the job done. Well, man,
it sounds so much like him.
You guys are lucky. Well, we're probably gonna have to hear it here in a second if you're comfortable. I was gonna say you guys are lucky I don't have money, because otherwise, we'd have Ric Flair on here.
Oh, thank God, he's poor. But no, if you have these things that they're going to make it so that all these things that are generated by AI either cannot be owned or can be owned by them and not by the people that were sampled. And there's reasons to say,
like James Earl Jones selling his digital voice to Disney or whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, in that case, it is a specific person. It's like, yes, you can train your models to sound like me, so you can have me to have a Darth Vader forever. Okay. That's fair, and that's something he actually chose to do. I'm pretty sure we're going to get something like that with Anthony Daniels, because he's an asshole. And he's like, nobody could ever play C-3PO but me. Or maybe he won't. Maybe it's like when I'm 6 feet under, C-3PO dies with me. I have no idea. But
I like Anthony Daniels. He's a great guy.
He's such an asshole.
Welcome on our show anytime. All right.
I would tell him he was an asshole to his face. I'd be laughing, but I'd still tell him to his face he's an asshole.
Like, can you put that on the autograph? It's like, sure. Pay your $10 like everybody else. All right, there we go.
Autograph, Anthony Daniels. You called me an asshole.
Like he just writes that on the C-3PO picture and gives it to you.
But yeah, since they're going to make it so that they can do this sort of thing, and like if you can do an impression or something, that's all this is. An AI is just doing an impression.
Could be a really
because it's listening to.
Yeah. But yeah.
If it were trained on a specific person, it would be, and that would not be ethical in my opinion, because then you're training it on a person, unless they sold the rights to you for that purpose.
So we get the AI to listen to your Donald Trump impression, and we create an AI like voice out of that that'll say anything.
If we created an AI like that, it would be the best AI in the world. Nothing better. I'm sick, so that doesn't sound like Donald Trump tonight.
Yeah. Well, oh man. Yeah, the possibilities are endless. So.
Besides, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. I might get lynched. I do live in Portland.
Oh man,
Anyway,
let's not go there. Let's not go there. So here we are on the RantCast, and I kind of want to get your guys' take on this. So this was my impression, and I'm not going to repeat the whole thing. You can watch the video yourself. Against the Ogre Horde, I know that there's people that have some nostalgia for it, much more so than Wizards of Morcar. It was kind of like a unique thing. And you think, okay, what's the most boring thing that you can do to make an RPG harder? I know, ogres, big monsters that are slow and dumb and have lots of body points. So that's what you got. But with this one, they did something a little similar to the
it's +3 against ogres.
yeah, Dead Alewives Watchtower. Check it out. Definitely, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. It's got to come up. But so with this one, we were all wondering, what are they going to do to convert this to the remake rules? Or are they going to at all? Or are they just going to straight up just, give us variable body points and stuff? Well, what they came up with was pretty straightforward. It's not identical to what Phoenix did. And in fact, if anybody's familiar with Phoenix's mod from 2008, he basically just dumped it from the EU rules to the North American rules. Some of the stuff converted well, some of it didn't. They went way past that. They added lots of stuff to the individual quests. So they took like empty rooms and they put treasure chests in them with stuff inside them. And they created like a second game in the same box, this skirmish mode. That's what I'm calling it, which is the tournament arena. And everybody was wondering, well, what the heck is this? Well, if anybody remembers Battle Masters, like how Battle Masters had those scenarios that you would play, it was very specific. Your army starts here and the other army starts here, and this is your goal. But then there was just a one-off where it's like, yeah, you just throw your armies down and you start playing, and that, you can do that anytime. Well, in this game, it's like that. It's like, here's a generic scenario, and you just plug in whatever you want, and you can just fight. There doesn't have to be any story. You just go for it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But there's a lot of things in here that are not answered. There's a lot of things that are left out, like little details.
That explains that explains like the whole Roman gladiator arena from the
monk.
From the for the monk, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So I appreciate this expansion, the way they wrote it, because they specifically say a couple of different times, like, do it your way. And the phrase I never thought I'd see in the relaunch of HeroQuest, optional rule. I was like, optional rule? Yes. Because you get so many people online, they're like, well, what's the proper way to do this? Rules as written, raw. It's like, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I want to play it the way it was intended to be played. Well, guess what? The way it was intended to be played is however you want.
This is HeroQuest. You're intended to do it however the hell you want at your table.
And sometimes they just flat out refuse to tell you the answer, so you have to come up with one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay. So, maybe they're just playing a little bit of a game, a little bit of a tug of war with some members of the audience, because I get it. You want to sit down and just play this game. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to do a lot of prepping and planning like you're playing a D&D campaign. But what they tell you is you start out in the arena. You get 3 missions in the arena. But guess what? If you want to, you can just skip them. You could skip all of them and go right to against the Ogre Horde, like the first quest. So the other thing they tell you is, you know what? You start getting bored with these quests, you can just jump out and go back in the arena and just fight, like anytime. So there's none of this, well, you can't shop between quests, but you get these big potions. No, they're just like, yeah, anytime in between quests, you can go to the arena. You can stay there as long as you want. Then you can come back
I think,
or not.
I mean, maybe our audience all already knows this, but it might be worth revisiting the context here, right? That the European game had no alchemist shops.
Yep.
And the rules required you to return the potions you found from the treasure deck to the treasure deck at the end of each quest. You didn't get to carry your healing potions from quest to quest.
Use it or lose it.
So Ogre Horde was the first time they were giving you a persistent potion that your character could actually carry.
Well,
I mean, I suppose you had listed quest treasure, I suppose.
Yeah, but most of those got used right away.
I was going to say, in my experience, the the random potions of healing make up a good chunk of the potions that heroes are able to sort of carry as surplus because...
But you are onto something in that here's a quest where they're starting you off saying, hey, this is a bigger challenge than you faced before. If you think
you're
might
going to
need
need
it,
more resources.
Here you go. Here's a bunch of potions to start off with. It's like,
Yeah.
Really? Interesting. So you wouldn't even have to play the game system. You could just start off. It's like, okay. And you don't get the death
I think
save,
it was
so-
more...
Yeah.
I mean, I guess to me, it always felt like it was more just... the European game, in a lot of ways, always kind of struck me as... It kind of felt like a beta test sometimes when I went back, in hindsight and was able to look at things. They were
out new ideas.
They were throwing stuff at the wall, and the US developers had the benefit of being able to see what they were doing and saying, "Oh, well,
Let's tweak
that
this
didn't
little
work,"
more. People didn't
or
like that.
"Oh, there's a gap here that really should be filled. Let's fill it." Like things like right away being like, the bad guys should probably be able to cast spells too. And so the US game went right in the game system.
And
the EU game, it took until OGRE HERE before you got a standardized, usable spellcasting mechanic.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be taking away spells from the heroes in order for the bad guys to have them.
Exactly.
I agree.
Man, and if the guys at Takara in Japan had been able to continue, they would have been able to continue the train going. They take the stuff that the US guys did and go, okay, these polar warbears and these Yeti, we can tweak this a little bit, make it a little more forgiving.
I'm pretty sure that it's pronounced Yeti.
The Yeti.
Poor Tony Schiavone trying to figure out how to make that sellable to the audience.
That toilet paper mummy sandwiching Hulk Hogan.
I'm pretty sure he said he pronounced it differently just to try to give it something. Because it was a dude wrapped in toilet paper coming down the aisle. He's like, what am I supposed to do? So he's like, well, I'll say it weird. Yeah. Maybe that will make it work.
The Yeti. Man, if I'd been a kid, though, and somehow watching, I would have loved that. But
anyways, that's what the potion thing in OGRE HERE always struck me as was they were compensating for the fact that the European game doesn't give the heroes nearly as much in the way of persistent resources as the US version does. So it was like, they're going to need this because it's harder and because the game just doesn't let them have that much stuff.
There were definite compromises in the EU rules. Like monsters only having one body point. That is just, that's so, why did you do, and then they came up with random bullshit in any expansion to try and make it so that you couldn't just mow down all the enemies, because your characters are getting tougher and the enemies are not. So, at some point they had to come up with something. In the US version, they're like, yeah, that doesn't work. You know what? I bet our players are smart enough to keep track of body points for each monster. I bet they can manage this. And of course we can.
They gave us tokens,
I like the token idea.
I don't use... I meant the skull tokens for body points.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't even use them personally, but, they didn't just trust me to be able to figure it out. It was like, well, here's a thing you can use, and it's clumsy. Like, I'm trying to think of, the original 10 body point ogres in Mage of the Mirror. If you were actually using skull tokens, you're going to perch one of those guys on top of a stack of 8 skull tokens?
9. Yeah, it's possible. It works. The bases are actually big enough.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And if they fall over dead, they're dead.
On a pile of skulls, yeah. Well, that is a problem with this new set, because the way they designed these double wide ogres, there's no place for those skull tokens to go. Like, if you pile them underneath the figure, it's unsteady, and if you try to wedge it between the legs, they've got that, I don't know if Shadiversary was here, he could tell us, but what's that thing that they wear on the armor that hangs down? It's not a tabard, it's called something else, but whatever that is, that gets in the way. And so
tunic?
I don't know, maybe.
Or is it armor? I'm trying to think.
It's like a loincloth, but it's like armor and leather, and it hangs down like maybe.
I mean, that would be the
their
skirt
knee.
of their. That would
Yeah.
just be a skirt or the skirt of their tunic. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
um,
I sound like an idiot. But anyway, yeah. So that thing. But see, that's hard plastic. So
right. So
if
you
you had
can't.
clearance, you could put the tile there. But
If
you
it
can't.
was real and was made of cloth, you could just force it out of the way with the tile.
Yeah, and be like, why are you putting a tile between my legs here? You weirdo.
But yeah, the that was something that had occurred to me about the double
Well,
base.
Mr. Ogre, I mean, we could always put the tile somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, it would work. It would work fine as long as they
Sun
always
don't
take
shine.
damage in increments of 2.
Yeah, there's that. But I mean, like the giant wolf, it was like a surfboard, and he's like leaping off the
Yes, there was a
surfboard.
place you could
So
stick
it's a
them if
little
you really
shelf.
wanted to.
It's very easy. Yeah, we don't need hero clicks for this. I know some
Yeah.
people like to flip over a die.
Well,
but-
bunga.
Yeah, I mean, but we just
Okay.
discussed this. I think a bunch of us on the Discord the other day. Actually, I think it was on the Avalon Hill one. But right, it was like we were like, we don't use the tokens.
Oh, I missed that.
We keep it in our heads, or
Well,
if
they
it gets complex enough, we like take notes or use little dice behind the screen or something. We don't,
use what works, but I mean,
And I think it's also just quicker. You're not constantly going back and forth and like, I got to pick the guy up, slide another token under him,
I like
back down.
I like the visual of it changing. Like, oh man, because it's not like a video game where he's
Yeah,
flashing red or he's showing beat up.
To some extent, this is a preference thing. I kind of like that. I don't consider it secret information, but I like the idea of if my players want to know how injured something is, they have to keep track of it themselves.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And they've never had a
Although,
problem with that.
if you're not going to use the skulls to track damage, they could be used for other purposes.
I use them to mark unsprung traps.
Okay.
That works too. And I mean, that's a better use of it than for the actual game than what I was suggesting. Blip.
Yeah, that's what I use them for.
So yeah, I use them.
I have a lot of tokens because I also have 3D printed blocked stone tiles that are slightly, they're slightly 3-dimensional, so they don't blend in with the board as easily as the
wall
tiles do.
You guys have seen my 3D printed stuff. I really wanted to show that off this month, but my guest hosting gig thing fell through, so I think we're going to try to do it in April. Now, but yeah, you use what works. But yeah, this set does not include any extra skull tiles, so yeah, it's kind of a weird little thing.
Setting aside the skull tiles, right?
Yeah. They beefed up the ogres. That's the point.
Yes,
quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean they're much tougher than a straightforward adaptation. I think I was
telling you, lower their
defense
though.
When I did my adaptation of Ogre Horde, and I was not trying to adapt as such. It was mostly just assume that all the things that aren't mentioned just go by US rules instead. So it's like, okay, gargoyles have 3 body points, not 1. Like, and then everything else, anything that was brand new or that was explicitly marked in the notes or whatever, it was like, okay, just pretty much just translate it as is. Mm-hmm. And I think when I did it, I basically averaged. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to take a straight mathematical average over all the quests. How many body points does it take overall to down an ogre on those tracks? And it came to about 3. So that was the body points I assigned to the ogre. I was like, they, on average, take about 3 hits to go down. So they each get 3 body points. And then I made the bosses and stuff a little bit tougher.
Yeah, I think Phoenix did the same thing. He came up with 3 as well. Let me ask you, if somebody wanted to play Karningul, your specific version of Against the Ogre Horde, where could they find it?
Find it in the download section of Ye Olde Inn. I was using a different name in the HeroQuest community back then, but... do
you want to say what it was?
It was Zaketh.
Zaketh.
Yeah.
You were the
and it was... Zaketh. I don't even know how it ended up on Ye Olde Inn. I don't recall specifically supplying it to them, so I'm not sure how it ended up.
Somebody liked it well enough.
Yeah. Cool. I posted it originally on what I'm sure is a very, very long defunct, bulletin board style thing that was for discussing and for
old scratch or something.
No, more primitive. It wasn't even a forum. It was a bulletin. You know,
BBS.
I don't know if you remember those things that used to exist. Like, there was one dedicated to HeroQuest many years ago, and that was where I posted it for public availability.
You had to upload it line by line with your 56K modem.
I still have the original PDF that I made sitting in my Google Drive.
That's cool. Yeah, a trip down memory lane. I love hearing about stuff like that. And I think when you first mentioned that, I'm like, whoa, this guy, like, he's not just some guy, like, talking about this. It's like, you've thought about this for a long time.
I thought about it for a very long time, yes.
Yeah, and you did something
for better
about it.
or for worse.
A lot of us complain about this stuff or speculate about it. It's like, no, you actually put it out there for people to, like, actually look at and play and criticize. So, yeah, good on you.
And, you know, I would do it differently now, certainly.
And we'd love to see it.
And I will be. I absolutely, you know, you asked, I think now we circle back, right? You asked what our impression was. And I don't have the box in my hand yet. Again, hopefully we'll be here tomorrow. So
yeah. Well, I mean,
but based on everything I've seen, I would give it, I would give it like 10 of 10 for the physical components. Like the miniatures, the tiles, they look brilliant. Really love what they've done. I love some of the variety they've added. I am over the moon about the new ranged variant monsters.
Oh, I forget. You guys paint your stuff. You guys don't care about the base colors.
Right? I mean, when I have enough free time, I will eventually paint them.
Yeah, I got my.
I don't think so.
I've been too busy. Too busy raising a toddler and buying a house in the last couple of years to worry about painting minis. But
okay, we're gonna paint the minis now. Here's your spray can from Uncle Kurgan that he sent us in the mail.
Yeah, but
I mean, theoretically, I should do at least as much as Kurgan does for painting.
Yeah, man.
Which mostly involves a paint bucket.
Actually, what I've found, and this is from seriously speaking, this from feedback from others. So this is not a promotional thing. Krylon Fusion, so like the Paint Plus Primer rattle cans, are much cheaper than Army Builder, and I find they do a pretty good job of giving you a nice, even hard coat for like the bendy plastic that they use for these HeroQuest.
I've been using Krylon primers forever.
Oh, see, I always used Rust-Oleum because it was cheaper, and I didn't know the difference, but I was always doing it on like 3D printed pieces or like the styrene type plastic. But the bendy plastic, it's like it would start to peel or it would be tacky.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what's wrong with this? And it's like, oh, just try, Krylon. It's like, oh, okay. And you got to let it cure a little bit longer. But once it's like hard, it's awesome. I'm like, yes, this is great. Like it almost is like the plastic is that color, like almost.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, what I'm probably planning to do, if and when I get around to it, is I'm gonna put I mean, it might not be the exact shade of the plastic, but I'm going to put the plastic color as the ring around the base.
That would be the way to do it.
Right. So the orc will be, painted in whatever color. Nice little archers there on screen right now. Color, all the clothing, everything will be painted realistically. And I don't necessarily expect to bother to texture the base for something like just for a board game. But
just have like a little swatch of green so that hey, this is a green skin.
But then around the ring of the base will be
that makes sense.
Green for orcs or white for skeletons, etc.
Red for heroes. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's I have that idea in my head too. I have not the only remake figures that I painted, and I have not painted them in full color. The female barbarian and the female elf. I spray painted like shades of green and blue. And I'm going to be doing the Ogre Warriors from this set. I'm going to do satin brick, kind of a reddish brown, and I'll be doing the big boss guys in satin harbor blue is what I'm going to do. So it'll be kind of reminiscent of the original colors. I know it's tempting to make those guys green, but then it's like, okay, they're all the Incredible Hulk.
But yeah, anyways though, the big picture, I love the miniatures. I love the tile. I love getting the arena. There was just a discussion, right? I've just been the last couple days been going through to start doing my overhaul of Prophecy of Telor, which I think Stephen Baker did some good work. I do think there's some bits of sloppiness in there that.
All right, cut his mic. He's off the show. No, I'm kidding.
No. I mean, just I don't know if it's his, it could be. It could have been due to editing at Avalon Hill. I'm not saying it's.
Yeah.
Or it could have been he didn't have enough time to give it the polish he wanted. Yeah. I'm not saying as an indictment of him as a person or as a creator or anything. I'm just saying, like, by my own standards, I'm looking through and I'm like, well, that's a little clumsy. I think I can do that a little more elegantly.
I don't think he would be offended to hear you say that, because everybody, I mean, that's kind of the point of HeroQuest. You're like, yeah, I like what you did there, but guess what? I have some ideas.
I think I can do it just a little bit better.
Yeah. Oh, there I am trying to force the atomic wedgie with the
yeah. And what I'm one of the things I'm excited about is I personally, at least, I think the arena tile can be adapted to, deal with that awkward ignore the walls sequence in there.
Yeah, people were saying, well, you just take some of those long strips from like Keller's Keep and you can just like put those on the sides to like.
I'm not even bothering with that. Out. Just like there is sufficient space to just the corridor.
Yeah. Yeah, because HeroQuest is a game where you use the main board and you just wall off different sections to create every formation. But then they give you these special tiles, and so here they've given you even more tile variations, and ones that you can flip over, and it looks kind of generic, but I mean, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look boring. It actually has some detail to it and some room to maneuver. Yeah, I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. I know the idea of having an arena has been in HeroQuest from day one. I mean, you would go to the arena to test your powers, and so you'd be fighting like each other, like in a death match. You can do that now.
That even fits the original, the maze.
Yeah, competition. Sure. Because the way it's set up in this book is you can either do heroes versus monsters, or you can do monsters
versus monsters, right?
It doesn't say you can do heroes versus heroes, but guess what? You can.
Yeah, I mean, it's HeroQuest. Of course you can.
Heroes versus Monsters is not aware of how many copies of the game that Kurgan has and just how many orcs he can pull out.
I can pull out lots of orcs.
Oh, that's one of those fun things where, when you get the thing that's like, at the start of every one of Zargon's turns, put up to 3 orcs here. And it's like, oh, well, I have 4 copies of the game, so I have a lot of orcs.
surely he's empty by now. He's
when
gotta reload. No, he doesn't.
We didn't play it first because Kurgan was not aware of my history with the game, and that I didn't start at the beginning even. So we played. We rescued Ragnar the traitor later on, and when we rescued Ragnar, every turn he would put 2 orcs, and we were playing on an alternate map too, so it wasn't real close to the entrance. We were a good ways around the board from the entrance, and I kept rolling like 3 for movement. So every turn, 2 orcs would come in the front door of come down the stairs.
Right.
And there was just a wall of orcs. But again, this was not, my second quest. I had a dwarf with a crossbow and a barbarian, and the dwarf was like, "Let's fucking go!" So we mowed. There was a lot of dead fungus that day.
Yeah. I was gonna say, every time you tell that story, like the number of orcs that had to be killed like increases, and I love it.
Doubles.
But yeah.
I think you counted, and it was 12.
Yeah, it was 12. Yeah, it felt like more though, because it's just like, and you killed the guy, and then there's more. Like, and you ended up throwing a bunch of magic on Ragnar so he could get past them. It's like, well, at least he can get through.
Oh yeah. We because once the way Kurgan wrote it up in his notes.
Here we go.
Once Ragnar was out the door, those orcs are huge.
So the Frozen Horror, you can actually put the tiles on his base because it's big enough.
Yeah, his is big enough.
but it takes up so much room on the board. Yeah. Anyway, finish the story. Sorry.
The ogres are more like the original. They're double wide, but they're not big round. They don't take up 4.
Yeah, the original ogres, they just had single square bases, but they were oversized, so they kind of like overlapped a little bit. Yeah.
But
yeah, they did that. I mean, the original had that problem with some of the stuff in the base box.
Oh
Chaos
yeah,
Warriors. If you tried to put too many Chaos Warriors next to one another, you ran out of space.
Yeah, and that's still a problem because the minis are now larger.
It's worse. It's the worst. The worst one is the Abomination, because his arm is outstretched in one direction and his spear is outstretched the other direction. So and they always put him in that small room, that like 2x4 room or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, there's 2 of them in this room, and you're like, oh man, I'm stuck in an elevator fighting Hulk Hogan. What is this?
You mean
Hulk Hogan? Man, I'm serious. I seriously miss Bill and the Twitter stuff. I'm pretty sure at this point it was probably always Bill, but I miss the early Zargon, the stuff they decided to stop doing. I miss that.
His jokes were terrible, but you know what? I kind of miss him too. And he was a good guy. I mean, he was very charitable, let's say, to some of my fanboy outbursts. So it's like, oh yeah, I came from a social media background. It's like, I see why they hired you. Yep. So hopefully he's able to apply those skills wherever he's going.
But anyways, returning to big picture.
Nobody knew who they were or what they were doing. But here we are at Stonehenge. Let's think of Spinal Tap.
Oh, right.
When the little tiny thing comes down, it's like, oh.
The Stonehenge was supposed to be so much bigger.
Yeah, it's like, no, you put, that's a symbol for inches, not feet.
Yeah.
Oh. But look at the difference. Look at the difference in the little baby wolf and the mama wolf.
Well, but see, I kind of want an extra of the baby wolf because
my immediate thought was
we need a wolf.
Something to represent werewolves.
Well, we needed a wolf for the we need a wolf for the Frozen Horror pack.
Yeah, Snow Dasher and Into the North.
Snow Dasher.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I never have less than 4 heroes on board, so.
Well,
Snow Dasher was kind of irrelevant for me, but
well, and that's how it works in this one too. Is if you have 1 to 3 heroes, you get the wolf.
Yeah, I don't even run.
And you can hire
Northlands.
one.
I'm not a fan of
ogre.
I actually don't particularly like that quest.
Well, it's an introductory quest, so
I don't like the. Yeah, I mean, there was a couple things. Yeah, again, it's sort of I have my own preferences, and it was just kind of like I kind of like the way I handle it better than the way they handle it, sort of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole idea was that pack was still in the early days when they were like, yes, we must make it exactly the way they remember it.
Yeah,
and then it's like, wait, no, you can change this because this was broken.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them for it. It's more I'm just like.
It's slow for us to see the results of their strategy changing because it's a board game, and they got to clear everything with Hasbro first. So there's that. You like my Reaper proxies there that I created long before getting this?
Yeah. So we're oohing and awing over the minis. I think the arena mode is cool. I am not particularly impressed with the job they did of adapting from the European original to their modern platform.
Okay.
I think, frankly, I was expecting more from them on that front, based on kind of the discussions you'd had, where it was like, oh, they understand that these things need beefing up.
Well, you still have the issues with. Well, people were complaining of all things of the swinging blade traps, that the fact that the dwarf can just say, I'm disarming it, and it's gone.
That's coming out of my version. Dwarf gets the same chance to disarm it that he gets to disarm every other trap. He gets a 5 out of 6.
I didn't have a
that
problem
was a
with
consequence.
It. Yeah,
I mean it's not a problem. It's more just
he worked in a
it's one of a
blade
small
factory. He has that experience, and it's finally my specialty.
Now you see, Laddie.
But see,
I
to
got
me,
a better chance of disarming the trap because, I be short, and since I be kind of short, I don't have to be worrying so much about the blade hitting me in the head.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they have their reasons, right, for why they chose to do it the way they did. But to me, it feels like another one of those instances of not fully grasping the differences between the US game and the European game. Like, it feels like someone read that and went, oh, cool, they actually made it so that the dwarf could automatically disarm these new traps. And I'm like, no. In the EU game, he could automatically disarm all the traps.
Yeah. So it's like they're adapting part of it, but not the whole.
It's just that they don't understand the full picture.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
Because you have to have in the back of your mind, I either am using the first edition or the second edition with this, as opposed to I'm just looking at this expansion and how can I convert it to North American version as quickly as possible. Yeah, I don't know their thought process on it. One of the things that I noticed, and I've said this before, is so in the original version, and back me up on this if I'm saying it right, iKarith, after you sprung a pit trap, in the North American version, it's a permanent obstacle. Now you got to jump over it, unless you got Ice Bridge. Whereas in the European version,
the dwarf could fix it.
He could fix it.
The dwarf could still fix it.
Bob, the builder dwarf, could fix it. Yes, he can. Yep. And he could also fix the fallen block traps after the fact, too, right?
He could dig them out in one turn. I don't know how he did it, but he could dig them out in one turn.
Yep. There was some movie, I can't remember what it was. It's like, they're like, oh, watch this. And it's like the guy, like, there's no way he can assemble this in like 3 seconds. It's like, he's messing around and they like turn away and they turn back and he's done it. It's like, what? That's impossible. It's like, it wasn't easy. It's like, okay, you're hired. Yeah, I have taken to it. So I have this upgrade system and I freely just pull stuff from all kinds of sources. So I basically decided, the dwarf can acquire for himself a repair kit that allows him to,
auto disarm.
Yeah, or dig his way out of.
Oh, I see. A falling block trap.
Nail a board over the top of the. Over the.
I like the idea. It's not in the original rules because I mean, like the other players, they need to get a toolkit to be able to disarm a trap at all.
At all, yeah. And then they only have a 50% chance, which sucks.
And then right. But the dwarf, he's got a nearly perfect chance of doing it.
Nearly, yeah.
But for him, the toolkit does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I would, and I do always play it. That if you've actually got the toolkit on the dwarf, he can actually disarm that trap if he thought to look for it.
Sure, yeah, gives a new use for it. Yeah, and that's the kind of like homebrew. I feel like this pack leaves you a lot of opportunities where you're like, I feel like I should change that. Like there's several parts, in fact, where you enter a room and then the falling block trap falls on the other side of the doorway. So you're trapped in the room.
Yeah, it's
if you don't have this past your rock, you're stuck. But they said, if you want, you can find a way to like let the hero out. It's like, okay.
Yeah. And again, to me, what it feels like is not fully comprehending. Hey, wait a minute. For a comprehensive U.S. adaptation, the falling block traps don't operate along the same rules.
No, it's a minor inconvenience.
And they wouldn't have been placed like that had it been designed for a US game.
Right.
So I'm like, I would rather I would rather that they had taken the time to figure out a more sustainable solution.
Yeah. So guys, this is the RantCast. This is not HeroQuest fans. So I'm being cognizant of the fact that we're getting closer to the spoiler section, I'm not actually going to show the spoilers on the stream. But if you guys want to ask me anything, I'm here for you about the actual quests if you haven't seen already.
Yeah. And I don't personally care too much for putting the arena mechanic in as the new quests.
Yeah,
I like the addition of the arena mode as like a different thing you can do with the game's components, but I would rather have had more standard,
standard
quests as a prelude. I kind of like the idea.
I know why they didn't do that. They didn't want to make it so that they wanted to include something extra, and I mean the arena is a great thing to include, but they also didn't want to change. They're still in that, we don't want to change things. I hope that they do something else for if they're going to do it that way. I hope they do something else creative for Wizards of Morcar. Just because if they want to leave it as it is, that's fine. I would be okay with adding, another half a quest pack to Wizards of Morcar because it's so short.
It's only it's not long enough. It just isn't.
Or if they want to do, they basically want to say, here is something else that could have been a Wizards of Morcar sized thing that just happens to be in the box with it. I'm okay with it either way, but I do hope that they do something. I would be okay with more for the Wizard to do. I mean, Wizards of Morcar, that could have been the Wizards expansion in the US if it were a longer, more difficult quest.
Yeah.
So I'd be okay with them doing that.
There's the Wizard Quest Pack. That's 10 more quests that they could add to the 5 or a best of.
Well, it wasn't in a finished state, but
pretty darn close though. I mean, I've seen it. But yeah, at the same time, they don't have to use it at all because nobody's nostalgic about it. There's a handful of people on the internet that have seen it that are like, "Oh man, I want to see this."
Right.
Something from the vaults. I wonder, and I can't wait to hear from some of our European friends in the community, people like Bohemius and Hispazargon and Glasgow Gargoyle and several others, is that I wonder how much they dipped into the European community with this one. Because I know for like a lot of us, except you, iKarith, of course, you told us your story, but a lot of us who grew up with the North American version, like we heard there was a Against the Ogre Horde, we never played it, and we're like, I don't understand this. Like, fix it to make it my rules. Like, fix it to. I feel like I bet they catered less to us on this one and more to those fans who are nostalgic about the original version. And that's why they kind of like walked around the fact that you had these 7 quests and just said, oh, well, the new stuff is kind of bolted on the side, but you can easily ignore it if you want.
Yeah. I mean, that one's a minor thing, right? Like writing up 3 new quests, that's fun. I like designing.
Yeah. They put the blank map in there because they want you to write more yourself. And they give you a blank arena too, with rosters that you can customize.
I do a lot of remixing, and I haven't actually designed. I haven't really designed a ton of my own, content from scratch in a really long time. So
I'm like,
it's sort of like, okay, that's fun then. I
do more remixing than I do original quests. But like that's almost a necessity. Like you get a total party kill, Zargon's supposed to go back in there and change things around. I mean, granted he could switch, 2 doors and there's your remix.
Right.
Depending on how much of the quest they've already seen, it depends.
Yeah, but but essentially my expectation is I'm going to have to rewrite the quest book.
Yeah.
That I don't know that I'm going to be keeping stats on the ogres. I'm definitely not keeping the stats on some of the named, enemies in the quest book. They're, somebody, like you said, sort of people sometimes thinking more about the Phoenix adaptation. It's like, I think Phoenix had it right. My adaptation, I kept their body points the same. He like doubled them. I'm like, I think he
made the sorcerer
he was more
3 and he made the final sorcerer 6, whereas the original it was like 1 and 3.
Yeah,
and they kept it like that.
Yeah. Right, and I'm like, no, that again, it's like no, these guys were designed in an environment where everybody normally just had one. So it's like 3 feels like a lot. It's like, no, in the US game, at the point we're at in the development of the product, 3 is not a lot.
Yeah, 3 is not a lot. 3 is not a lot.
And
now, what Phoenix did that was insane was the Dark Company. I mean, you can't hit those guys. That was too much.
Well,
you don't want to carry that again. Yeah, that rule in Dark Company again was that the designers of that were trying to compensate the fact that everything only had one body point.
I like that mechanic, but yeah, it's pretty brutal when you've got like multi-body point monsters.
Right.
Like a Chaos Warrior that
you've got to adapt
one
it.
Black Shield can block all your skulls. It's like,
right,
okay, so
you got to
have
change
kill him
it
with
somehow.
Magic. You got to kill him with magic now. But you don't have
or
enough
that guy's
magic.
not going down.
Well, in theory, what they wanted you to do is run away, find the shrine, recharge your spells, then run back, then just nail him with everything you've got.
Well, maybe. Well, again, in the EU version, all you had to do was get one skull.
Oh well,
you only needed him to whiff on one attack, and
so it's going to be lots of nail biting and sweating until we got him.
But the US thing, it's like you got to do that maybe 3 different times.
That's true. Yeah, that's
what makes it so brutal when you try to run it by US rules.
Yeah.
And
finding that fine balance between like fun challenge and frustrating drudgery challenge.
Yeah. Now, if he could block on any 2 Black Skulls.
Playtesting.
Yeah. I mean, I was also working on a remix of Dark Company, and I hadn't decided yet.
I love that. There's
about the rules for the Doomguard thing. I was like not sure what to do about that.
I was part of a playtest. See, there's several now simultaneous attempts to remake it. I guess everybody's kind of anticipating is Avalon Hill going to do their own version? I better get my version out.
At this point, I'm not sure that I expect they will.
Well, I think if they,
I'm more pessimistic about it maybe than other people because I just feel like it fits in a very weird space from a marketing standpoint.
I could see them doing a digital quest.
I could see them doing it as a digital. Here's a way to reuse.
A digital. If it was digital only, I could see that. And
if they
were going to do that, they would have done it already.
Or they could do it as a convention thing. Yeah, we'll print it out and hand it out at the convention.
That would be super sweet.
Trying to sell it as a boxed product, it's like
it
just doesn't feel like it offers.
Unless they're going to come up with a whole different set, of basically Doomguard minis, and selling it as a quest book.
Well, there was a rumor.
And with lots of. But the other thing there, and it's kind of the elephant in the room, Hasbro is not doing well. Hasbro is really not doing well. I mean, we've got the stuff that was coming out this year.
HeroQuest
sold to coming out.
No, I'm kidding.
The stuff that's coming out this year is definitely coming out. Yep. The stuff that was nearly done for early next year is probably coming out. And beyond that, either HeroQuest has to make them a lot of money, or dumbass video game transaction is just going to cut it in favor of, this could be a video game. And of course, we don't want it to be a fucking video game. We're playing HeroQuest because we don't want it to be a video game.
The charm is that it's a board game. Hey guys, I don't know if you're able to see the Twitch chat, but there was a comment way back, and since my screen froze, I haven't been able to relay those comments. I'm really sorry, but let me.
No, I've been ignoring the Twitch chat. I'm sorry, guys.
Let me acknowledge.
My excuse is that I'm blind.
See, you've got an excuse. I don't. Okay, so let me just acknowledge. So Verg was talking earlier. He's saying the males all have shaved heads and a bobbed ponytail. The ogre female warrior has long hair. The champion in the tournament is described as female, and the mini has similar hair as the female ogre warrior. Also not ranting, just genuinely curious. We'll know for sure tomorrow. Ribby says, oh, there's a female? That's awesome. Sorry, I read more into that than I needed to. Sorry, Ribby. Bohemia says that's because it's based on U.S. rules or EU rules. The arena is connected with the monk. They're building a conspiracy board for HeroQuest. Yes, for sure. Italian fans are going crazy. Oh, see, I saw your comment. Did you just type "sorry guys" just now? Yeah, maybe it is coming through, and I'm just seeing it a little late. But anyway, yeah. Um, the whole thing with like the different language editions, I've heard the Spanish fans are really having a tough time. Like once the expansions sell out, they don't restock them, which really sucks if you're in Spain.
Oh, that really sucks.
But I guess it's not a problem with other countries. So Germany, Italy, the UK. Well, they don't need a translation, but I mean, it's like, yeah, people can get it. Now, I did see that the Rogue. I freaked out for a second because I'm like, wait a minute, the Rogue is not on Hasbro Pulse anymore. It's gone. They said it wasn't going to be a limited release, but then people pointed me, no. But let me finish. Let me finish. So that was my impression, because what I do is I go to Hasbro Pulse and I type in the search function. I just type in HeroQuest and see what comes up. That's actually the wrong way to do it. What you're supposed to do is go to brands and go to Avalon Hill and then go to HeroQuest, and then it shows what they've got, and then you can shop all HeroQuest. So it shows the Rogue and it says sold out in the US. So the Rogue is sold out. That doesn't mean that it's not coming back. It's just it's been sold out for I think a couple months now. So you can get it at other places. But yeah, at first I was thinking like, oh, they quietly discontinued it and didn't tell us, but I don't think that's the case. So rumor busted.
But we don't know if they have orders out for production.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that they're losing.
Yeah, I suppose best laid plans. They could just say, yeah, I know we wanted to do this, but now we can't do it anymore.
Hey, Avalon Hill, this is why you should be talking to us.
Yes, see, we're going to start all these crazy rumors, and you're going to have to go on Instagram and say, wrong.
I mean, not trying to start rumors, but like, it's sold out. Are they going to restock it? Do they have any plans?
Yep.
Will there be more? And of course, that's how you start a scalper panic.
Yeah.
And I mean,
in Spain they're buying.
We legitimately don't know.
Yeah, in Spain they're buying from the UK or from the US, and then they're translating it themselves. That's what they're doing.
I mean, that's going to get them a better translation anyway.
Yeah, that's been said as well. I mean, the translation was so bad they sent out free versions of the cards to people, and still it wasn't like a complete job.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people were going to like in and just looking up the old like Spanish version because that was actually more accurate. Yeah, we'll just say however you say dread in Spanish.
I still have the notion in my mind, and I'm, with fewer people that I would worry about upsetting about it. And I'm sure Chris would have been fine with it. My Peasant Quest idea, I don't know if I should explain that for both people who are watching who have no idea what I'm talking about.
If you want to. Peasant Quest.
The idea I had in mind was HeroQuest is not available in even as many countries as it originally was.
True.
And there's a bunch more that it is never going to come out. It's just never going to happen.
Officially.
Yeah. So the thought I had in mind was, in Brazil, the game came out with cardboard standees. Well, you can do something like a cardboard standee that is, decent quality, or you can use, proxy minis from Reaper or whatever. Oh, yeah. Whatever you can get your hand on for minis. Mm-hmm. The rules, the mechanics of HeroQuest use very generic rules. You could write something in 2 pages that would explain the rules to anybody who had ever played this kind of game before ever. Mm-hmm. And if something that short, and you would basically just use a D6 roll high everywhere. So, very simple mechanic, no special dice required. If you've got the special dice, you can use them, but you don't need them. And then, put together like some very simple assets that could be basically print and played, and you get quests wherever you need to get quests from. There's a lot available for download. A free set of rules, and a big thing about it is if these rules were so short, they could be set up specifically in a way that makes them easy to translate into any language and preferably every language.
Nice
So
little template. Yeah.
you could download these and use them in place of the poor translations for a country that the localization team was half asleep. You could use them translated into your language in a country the game is never going to come out. And you could use them in a country, you could use them as it is for, a country where the game will never come out. And if you ever get a chance to buy an import version somewhere, you can just upgrade your components. And I mean, I would put this out there, as FOSS, free open source software. It would be free to download, free to use, free, because I mean,
sounds like a cool idea.
It is. Yeah, I think it would be a cool idea. I think it would be a lot of fun. I need time to actually, sit down and do it. I've been kind of busy with a million things. There's a million and one things on my to-do list that are like that would not be all that terribly complicated. And I mean, the assets for this could be really dumb assets that could almost be like a grid for starting for a map with some darker lines. And you could come back, somebody could come back who has like actual art skills and make something better. And people could actually contribute to it, and it would just be an open source peasant quest. That's the idea.
For the rest of us. Yeah. I like it. I think you should go with it. And I'm not pretending that I have extra time to do it. It'd be fun to work on it with you, but I bet there's people out there in the community that would jump at the chance if you said,
I'm sure there are people who have actual art skills. I don't.
Well, not just artists, but editors, just somebody to read it over and make suggestions, or play test it with you. Or, critiques.
Wouldn't require a whole lot of playtesting because I would be literally aping the mechanics that already exist in HeroQuest.
Pretty much.
I mean, the thing that would be playtested would be, we probably should not use the existing heroes verbatim. We could follow the same. We could follow the same guidelines that the heroes that exist in HeroQuest used. So, somewhere around like 10 points that get assigned wherever.
Oh yeah.
Something like that.
I do have to say though that we talked about bad translations. I'm tickled by the fact that in the Spanish version the elf is actually called the troll. I love that. El Troll.
They were ready for the internet about 5 years early.
Yep. It's always pranking people. And then stepping back to watch the fireworks. Yep. So Peasant Quest. Well, I look forward to seeing what
Bob.
You come up with it. Yeah.
And your brother Cobb.
And Dob. Don't forget him. Everybody.
Tom, Bert, and
yep. Robert Paulson and Paul Robertson.
No, it's the trolls from The Hobbit. It was Bert, William, and Tom.
Oh, I'm rereading The Hobbit, so I have spoilers. Spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry.
I'm kidding.
I don't know whether there are trolls or not in The Hobbit.
Oh, thank goodness. There might not.
Yeah.
Phew, saved. Yeah, it's like it's been out for like almost 100 years, dude. It's like okay.
Well, don't worry. He'll get to that point in the book, and he can shine a light on it then.
No.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to go sort of back, I think, to what I feel like I'm not the only one. This has been, I think, the single thing I've seen lots of people say about the Ogre Horde, though, that we did get.
Way to keep us on topic. Yeah.
Yeah. The cards.
Yes.
I think the cards are just nobody is
15.
happy about the situation with the cards.
There's 15 of those mentalist spells.
Yep.
Instead of tokens, and those are spots that could have been used for treasures or artifacts. I thought maybe that they would. My suggestion was, oh well, they'll just put it in the quest book. You find the ornate, ogre knife
The
of
ornate
slaying.
gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The faithful watchdog. Yeah.
But
was there really a good way
I
to
pointed
do it?
out,
though?
right? If you consider the wolf, is a canine, right? We did get the faithful watchdog.
We did. It's all the memes are there. Well, so they could have done this several ways. They could have printed the cards on the page, like we got in the Mythic book, and then have people grumble about it, and then give us, or they could have given us digital cards after the fact, which they still could do if they want. They probably won't. They could have just given us a text description, like the Elven Chainmail. I mean, that still doesn't have a card. I mean, except for fans who make their own.
I wish it's definitely not going to happen now. It wasn't going to happen before, probably, but I really wish that Avalon had given us a kind of blessed art pack for making fan created stuff, like card backs. And maybe some guidelines to what to put on the front of the card to say this is a fan made card. Obviously, that's what you put on it is fan made card, not
Don't be one of those guys that sends your designs to make playing cards and it says copyright 2022 Hasbro HeroQuest official product. It's like,
if you put that on your cards, they aren't going to make them.
Yeah, they won't do it, and they'll probably send you a letter, and they might refuse to service you in the future. Yeah, but people they don't get it. They just think, oh, found thing on internet, print thing, sell thing. It's like, no, it's not quite that simple. Sorry. Okay, so what do you guys think of this part here? We've got you assemble your team. I wasn't sure I quite understood this because, okay, I get what they're showing you here. You've got your team of heroes, and you take their strongest attack, and you add 1. So the broadsword is 4, but like the wizard has a genie spell, so it's 5 plus 1, 6. And then you team them up against a team of monsters that equals that same level of power, right? But how do the monsters do it? Because they just have 1 attack. So is it just their attack is their attack? Is that how it works?
No idea.
Oh, okay. I'll probably have to read it over a couple more times before we actually run it. Man, I have so many ideas. Because these brawls can happen anytime, anywhere. Just think about that. Think of the possibilities. You're marching through town, and all of a sudden, oh no!
If you ever find yourself being hurled at a horde of monsters, this is what you must do.
I think just the unfortunate lack
and you guys
of,
have no idea what I'm referencing there.
No,
I don't.
Yeah, the lack of any artifacts and the lack of any. And just again, it's sort of that adaptation issue of felt like they just didn't think about it, take it seriously or something. It was just it used to be tokens, now they're cards, and it's like, but
do you think they were crunched on this one? Do you think that's what happened?
I have no idea what was going on in the background, personally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to speculate. I don't know.
Oh, see,
I wonder.
But
I wonder if you can kind of tell when stuff is changing around you at a company. I wonder if some people were starting to kind of be like, well, it's time to pack it in. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just... Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with it because I was going to do my own thing anyway. You were going to do your own thing anyway.
Well, the thing that's I don't mind rewriting the quest book to fix, but usually what I'm trying to do is just fix things that I don't think work or make sure, but I'm a little annoyed that I feel like in order to really turn this into a quest pack that feels like it's on par with the other ones that we have right now, I'm going to have to print 10 custom cards.
Fair.
I'm just like, ugh, that's annoying.
I'm just gonna grab cards from other places.
And
I mean, I've already printed out so many cards; it's not even funny. So
I mean,
I'm
I
ready
was
to go.
planning to make some cards
But
anyway,
if I was
you
starting
know.
from scratch, yeah, I'd feel like there should be some stuff. Because you do get rewards in the arena, but they're like bone weapons and like potions. It's all stuff that you're
Yeah,
going to
that's
use there.
not the same to me.
It's not stuff that you're going to carry with honor like into the later quests. I mean, I quoted that quote from Patton where he's like, and then they would parade through the streets and, their children would, follow them wearing white. And then the slave would come up behind him with the golden crown and say, fame is fleeting. It's like, no.
Yeah. I think the other thing, right, is that, and I'm not, not the only one who, by a long shot either, to have expressed this, is it makes me concerned about potential Wizards of Morcar a little bit.
What are they going to do for it?
Well, like this time around, right, they took token, again, it's that different, understanding, really comprehending the difference between the two versions of the game. It's like, why did
Well, they'll get feedback.
the Ogre Horde have this awkward token system for spellcasting? It's like, well, they were, as far as they knew, they were making something new. There was no spellcasting system in their version of the game. They were developing it from scratch, and that's what they came up with.
You put
I mean, let's
tokens.
face it. I'm just going to take this thing and I'm gonna redo HeroQuest and I'm going to basically make it Dark Sun HeroQuest and see who I piss off.
Well, look at the sky orb in Mage of the Mirror. The way it's supposed to work is you've got it at your spot. You've got the little tile, and you've got the other two or three tiles piled on top. And it's like if Zargon zaps you with a mind attack, it's like, oh, I'll hand you one of the tokens to nullify that damage. The next time it happens, and you keep on doing that until it's gone dark. It can't. So now it's going to get through. You don't get an opportunity to use it,
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
it's there. But it was kind of that was a reverse because the way the spell tokens are supposed to work is you've got your character board. It's not just a poker sized card. Although I have tested it, you can put those tokens, you can fit them on a poker sized card still. So you'd have the character board, you put the tiles on top of it, and every turn you take another one off, or if you counter the spell, you remove those tokens, give them back to Morcar. So I mean it was a way of doing that, and I mean they kind of brought that mechanic back a little bit in Rise of the Dread Moon because it's like, oh, you get the lunar token, you hand it in, you get the potion in return, or you hand the reputation token in and you get the mercenary. Like they've experimented with bringing that back, and that made me think that maybe they would have the tokens in this one, but then they decided not to. So then that made me think, well, maybe they've heard fans over the years saying, oh, these tokens, I don't like these tokens. I'd rather have spell cards. So then they just felt free to do that.
But I think the problem there is that they made spell cards, but kept them functionally the same as the tokens. And it's like, no, if you're going to make them spell cards, make them spell cards. Like, integrate them into the existing mechanical system that your game already has. Like, that's what I don't like is...
There it is.
That they're not dread spells. Like, I can't homebrew by, I mean, I could kind of, I guess, but if effect-wise they're duplicative, right? Got a, command is already in the base game. It's been there forever.
Yeah.
Like we've had that spell.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but part of me is still like, I would rather have, the bad guy has summon mummy and he has call skeleton rather than he's just got summon undead. Like, I don't know.
And I wonder if I wonder if some of the spells that were in the base game that were not used in the base game are there because as they were making the US game, they knew what was going to come up and they, come up in
like maybe
the UK.
We know our friends across the pond are working on that other thing, so we'll put this out just in case.
Yeah, because I mean they had lead times then too.
Yeah, yeah. In the latest Stephen Baker interview, he talks about Mike Gray, and how because Mike Gray was the guy that was in charge of the '92 packs, but apparently he worked on all the North American stuff. So yeah, they were in contact. They had their own teams, but it was like, yeah, this is what we're doing. What are you guys doing? Oh, yeah, we're going to be doing that later. Okay. You could kind of imagine how it all falls together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, just for me personally, what was frustrating was, they're not on the same card back. They do things that we already have spells to do. They didn't decide to try to clean them up. Like the originals, I mean, I kind of understand. They were tokens. There's only so much real estate on a token.
Yeah.
So the originals didn't have the ability to necessarily put all of the text that they needed onto the card or onto the token. But that's not a problem anymore.
Okay.
You got these big cards. Like, I don't like that basically, long story short, I don't like that the card makes you refer to the quest book to fully be able to arbitrate, to like what the spell does. Like, you read the Mind Blast spell, and it's like, well, what does this do? You have to go look at, there's a big, 3-paragraph long entry in the quest book explaining how Mind Blast works.
That was my difficulty with Rise of the Dread Moon. I mean, all the other quest books, I felt like I played a couple of quests. I know what to do. I just open up the book and just go. Like, I don't even have to plan anything. Rise of the Dread Moon, I had to like go back to those sections and reread them. Like, do I really understand this? Like, okay, I think I do. Okay, now. But I would still refer back. I'd be flipping pages. This one, you might find yourself flipping pages a few times. Now, thankfully, if you're doing the tournament, it's a little easier because you've got those first 15 pages to like study, and you've just got the one board. But yeah, if you were going back and forth, that would be a little annoying. They need to give you like little bookmarks or tabs or something. So I have a question for you guys. So this, I don't know how clearly you can see this here, but it says example of World's End team roster. And you've got a monster, so it shows the goblin, 10 movement squares, 1 mind point, 1 defend die, 1 body point, 2 attacks, sorry. That says number 3, total 6.
Why don't you try seeing if you can adjust the exact frame to see if you can get a little clearer?
I think that's saying how many goblins.
So 3 goblins gives you 6 power.
Less than and greater than to move by frame. Just to see if you can get a little clearer. It's a little fuzzy.
That's what I'm assuming it would be anyway.
Come on, hold it steady. Okay, that's a little better. So maybe the way the monsters are calculated in this power rating are different than the way the heroes are.
Maybe.
Because if they don't
just give you a power rating, I can't remember.
Well, with the heroes, you've got to add 1 to your strongest attack. But maybe with the monsters, it's just your attack.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why it would be.
Because I was thinking, it would be 9 for the goblin. Because you'd add 1.
Right.
But if you're not adding 1, if it's just 2 for each one, then yeah, it would be 6. And the skeleton, there's 2 of them. It's 4. Because their strongest attack is the ranged attack. Yeah, they made all the ranged guys like 1 up close. So they're just punching you or poking you with a dagger.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah, although with the orcs, they made the bows like they put all these like spikes on them. I mean, come on. These guys are totally, followers of chaos. They've got spikes everywhere. Right? Right? Okay. The spike memes. Okay, there's a nice sharp picture. Okay, well maybe I'm just overthinking it.
Yeah, or did it? I could have sworn for some reason I was thinking maybe not. I thought there was just a guide that said what the values of the monsters was somewhere in the book.
Yeah, but they're just giving you an example. But see how it's blank? You just have to figure the rest out. But using this as your guide, you could take all the monsters from all of the expansions and put them in here. You could just plug them in.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because it only gives you a guide it only gives you the values for the ones that are in this box.
Well, yeah, game system plus this box because they don't.
That's what I mean. Right, game system obviously.
But you could you could recreate that Gen Con display and put the frozen horror in there, and the giant wolves and everything.
Try to figure out how much that would quote unquote worth.
Yeah. Well, but you can adjust it the other way too, because who says you have to stop with 4 heroes, right? You can throw the monk in there. You can throw the rogue and the female barbarian. You could just keep on going. Yeah, and
heck, both female barbarians.
Yep. Goretooth's gang. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. The Yeah, it is really, I don't know, maybe we will get some kind of digital, standalone thing or something with a cutout sheet, but
Yeah.
it really boggles my mind that there were no artifacts added to this box.
Yeah, I was really expecting even something as generic as just repeat the alchemist shop from Keller's Keep and throw some spell scrolls from
Oh,
the
right,
game
yeah, and there's
system belt. Like
no
that would have
potions
been
either.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just potions of healing. That's it.
I do think what I might do, since I actually don't use the alchemy deck.
Oh, I love the alchemy deck.
To me, item crafting is a level of complexity that HeroQuest is
I love the
not
alchemy deck.
about
It's so
to
bad.
me. It's sort of it's like,
Well, but the crafting is so simple. It's you draw the treasure card and then you just turn it into the
yeah, it also
potion you
just
want.
it completely changes the dynamic of the treasure deck.
Well, what
Like
do you
you're finding
tell
total.
me?
I've got 30 years
I've got
of knowing what's in the treasure deck, and then suddenly
Yeah,
it's
I've
like
got
now it's different.
It's different now. Yeah, well, I've got the critic here with me. So, what do you think of the way I do it? Before Rise of the Dread Moon even came out, I had the house rule where if you find an alchemist bench and there's no specific note, if you're one of these magical guys, so if you're the wizard or the elf, you can just decide to draw from the potion deck instead of the treasure deck. And that's just the one that Shane came up with. All he did was just take all the potions from all the expansions and put them together with a couple of homebrew ones. And so, yeah, there's a couple poisons, but mostly it's all good stuff.
I mean, it's fine. I don't think it breaks anything. I mean, that's one of the things, right? Just because I just don't personally want to use something doesn't mean
It's your
I think it doesn't mean that I think
preference.
there's anything wrong with it or that it won't work. It's just I just don't like some aspect about it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're
Doesn't
running the
sit right.
game. You don't do it that way, but yeah.
I don't think the players need the help. Is my history with the game. I'm like, they don't need free potions. They tend to get more potions than they know what to do with.
I wish somebody had told me that many games ago. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, well, even if you don't do that, it is Potion Hoarder Edition. It definitely is. But that's what's so weird about the Frozen Horror and Mage of the Mirror, in my experience. Okay, I'm gonna pause it for spoilers. Is they made the quest so broken, you could just be giving away potions like Halloween candy, and it would be fine because they're gonna need all the help they can get.
Yeah.
But the real way would be to go through and just actually craft
I mean,
the quest
those
so
two
that they're balanced.
two expansions are outliers, right? Like
Yeah,
most
they are.
of the time when I'm running for, players who know what they're
The
doing,
difficulty is good
I'm
enough.
usually more concerned about it being too easy and them having too many resources than I am about needing to give them more.
Yep. Well, and some of the cutting room floor stuff was interesting because you had two potion sellers for Mage of the Mirror.
Yeah.
One of the some of the
One of
potions,
them which wouldn't work all the time, right?
yeah, they were unreliable. But and you may have noticed in our games, I think only one potion was ever purchased from him, and they gave it to the wizard, like almost as a joke. Like everybody else, like nope, I want it to work. Like I'm not doing a death save with something that's gonna fail. Like okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. It just personally, I don't like the disruption to the balance of the treasure deck, and I just don't feel like the heroes need the boost.
So you didn't want extra treasure cards in this against the Ogre Horde, then?
I don't mind it in an expansion. I see the alchemy deck though as something that if you're going to do it at all, you should be doing it
treasure deck.
You should be doing it all the time. Like
okay.
That's like, to me, it's like the elf spells. It's like once you have them, I integrate them from the beginning of the game.
I get it.
Right. My elf in my games, the elf always gets elf spells and only elf spells. I reserve the elemental spells as unique to the wizard.
I just feel like, and maybe you disagree, I feel like even though Avalon Hill themselves don't necessarily support this officially, because if you try to go into the app, you can only use the alchemy deck in Rise of the Dread Moon. That's it. Well, in Nightfall. But,
Yeah, that to me it's the type of expansion of the game that if you're going to use it at all, you may as well just always use it.
yeah,
Like
because
why would you only use it during that expansion? That
Yeah.
makes no sense.
you didn't learn it until that point. But yeah, you could say what it's doing is they're giving you a way to freshen up old quests. Like, oh, we'll play it and see how it's different because yeah, the original quest just had an alchemist bench that didn't do anything. But now you can use it to craft potions. So strategically,
more
how's it
like
going to change?
It doesn't have anything to do with Rise of the Dread Moon. Right. It's an alchemy system for HeroQuest. It's not thematically related to Quest Pack.
I suppose
It's just a new set of it's like the arena thing, right? Like the arena doesn't have anything to do with Ogre Horde other than that they shoehorned it in.
Spoilers.
Right.
There is actually a story connection. Now,
no, I know.
You may
but
think
they invented it.
Well, yeah, they did. The only way we can get close enough is to enter ourselves into the contest.
Yeah.
They have this whole arena thing, and they didn't include wrestling moves.
Yeah. What is up with that?
That's Kurgan's thing. They can't put wrestling into HeroQuest because they'd be afraid Kurgan would sue for
my team of
Would Kurgan sue over this? Oh yeah!
What are you gonna do when my team of crack lawyers are run wild? Yep. No, yep. I'm not gonna do that. But oh man,
I'm
guys,
joking.
There is Bohemius came up with
seriously. They can't for that reason. They can't because the possibility exists.
Dude, you are gonna see like, wait a minute, why are there all these tables and like thrones and stuff laying around in the arena? Oh, you will see. 3 minutes playtime.
Folding thrones and tables that can be picked up and used to bash somebody over the head.
Yeah, man. The only thing I'm missing, I need like a chandelier that someone can swing from. I know that's not a wrestling thing, but it's definitely a Western bar fight type. I have so many ideas. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
well,
anyways,
I'm gonna have fun with it.
Yeah, but anyways, long story short, I don't use the alchemy things in my game. So,
all right.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember why that was relevant now.
I don't use the alchemy deck. Well, you were talking about the treasure deck because we were talking originally about
about treasures. Yeah.
The opportunity they had here to add more cards, but instead they just filled it all up with, okay, you've got the new monsters, yes, and then you've got the dread spells.
Yeah.
And then nothing else.
Yeah, I don't mind treasure cards that are kind of, like the Frozen Horror had some stuff that was like cold themed treasures,
Yeah.
It was like things that could help deal with icy rivers and whatnot.
I
was like, okay, that makes sense to me. I understand, that fits.
Sorry, keep interrupting. I apologize.
No, it's all right.
One card I was expecting to see was the Ogre Grog.
Yeah.
And this one's for you, Bohemius. The Grog. It's like, listen, that is definitely
it's terrible.
It's like, listen here. This ogre,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like, this is how much gold it costs to hire him. Well, I don't have that much gold, but I do have this mug of grog.
You have some ogre grog. Yeah,
this is going to be part of his pay. So.
Yep.
That
actually might have been why I brought it up. What I was going to say is I don't use the alchemy deck, but what I think I might do is when I come up with an alchemist shop for the Ogre Horde, I'm going to put the Ogre Grog in as one of the items as a joke.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the heroes will be like, okay, 3 of these potions actually make sense, but what is this grog thing doing here? Why would I ever drink this? It's like, wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's there because it's funny.
That scene.
Because I have a card for it.
Well, is it the Two Towers where in the movie version where they've got the big battering ram coming for the castle, and instead of yelling Grom, they're going Grog. Like, man, after this battle's over, we're gonna be just drinking grog. It's gonna be
that'd be Return of the King, actually.
Oh, it was
Return of the King, with the battering. Yeah.
What am I? I see. The problem is I watch them all together and they blend together in my head. But okay, fair enough. Return of the King.
Yeah.
Grog.
I will say, I generally I have a soft spot for most of the old Hammer minis from the original game.
Yes.
The
So do I.
artwork for the ogres, they just look like old men. It looks ridiculous.
They look like
Yeah.
Old men with ill-fitting clothing.
hillbilly orcs.
Yeah.
Is what they look like to me.
Yeah, yeah. So I gotta say, I do appreciate that. They decided that these things are going to look like monsters and not just like
a little spiffier.
yeah.
Oh, the elephant in the room. So, what do you think about the fact that the ogres really aren't evil at heart? That they had this great civilization, and just a few corrupted leaders. Really.
That just fits with like what they're doing with like
I mean,
everything. You can't
that's not
have
even anything new.
Well,
yeah.
see, I was waiting
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, yeah. To be fair, in this case, yeah, the ogres are used by both the Empire and the forces of chaos, according to the original lore, and even in Warhammer Fantasy. Am I right about
And
that?
yeah, in Warhammer, I mean, most
Well,
of the factions have
prior to the ridiculous what's it, not concentration,
with
everything
Age
got
of Sigmar
coalesced
stuff.
in Age of Sigmar. Everything got like coalesced and combined, so there's like only 4 real factions anymore, blah blah. So like the ogres got lumped somewhere, I forget where, but in in old Warhammer Fantasy, the ogres were their own thing.
Yeah, and I mean every people of the old Warhammer world, there were some who served chaos, and there were some who didn't.
Hmm.
And I mean, it was pretty rare you'd find orcs who didn't, because the orcs were
The orcs in Warhammer actually they weren't chaos. Orcs were their own thing.
Were they? I am.
Orcs. Yeah, they were. That was a HeroQuest thing, I think, because they needed
Okay.
something to be the grunts for the chaos.
Yeah, because in HeroQuest they specifically say they form the rank and file of Zargon's
Right.
army,
And in the old Warhammer, like
Saruman's
when
orcs. Yeah.
like the one of the orc warlords basically beats the Ever-Chosen of Chaos in a duel, and then is basically just like, I've conquered the best thing that there is to conquer, and he just like leaves him there and leaves, because he's like, now I'm the best. Basically, the orcs in Warhammer just love fighting. Like, fighting is just how they prove who's better, and
I mean, that fits. It kind
they
of
don't really, but like, for them, the fighting is the end unto itself, basically. Like, they don't.
It kind of doesn't do any favors for the orcs are from a region that kind of sort of resembles that. It doesn't do any favors for that, but I mean, there's an awful lot of backpedaling at Mach 37 on anything that could be seen as we can't have orcs be in any way associated with evil anymore, because somebody went and portrayed them as being from something resembling sort of Africa-ish. And it's like, oh, good grief.
Bright was not a documentary. Well, and that's not even right, because people were always comparing the orcs to the Mongols, the Mongol horde. It's like, oh, how
this is for a whole different reason.
Right. So people get mad, but it's like, okay, how people who are getting attacked by Genghis Khan, how did they perceive those people? So you create this fantasy character, but yeah, somebody gets offended. Like, no, it's fake. It's made up.
The Old Hammer Empire is not the bastion of nobility that kind of it's painted as in HeroQuest, at least.
Yeah, HeroQuest is a totally different outlook.
HeroQuest is a heroic fantasy, like you're heroes and you're saving the day kind of thing. And yeah, the Empire was much more shades of gray.
At Warhammer, There were no clean hands. There were no good guys.
Nope.
And if there were bad guys, people who took the best deal they thought they could get, for the most part.
Not quite 40K, but in that line.
Well, 40K is just kind of nihilistic, so.
Yeah, it's like a parody of itself. It's like Gotham City times 10. Yeah. Well, speaking of rehabilitating previously wholly evil monsters, I was looking at the arena and I was looking at these tiles that they have. Let me see if I can find the picture again. I know people were saying, "Oh, it's a dead body. You're looting a corpse." Does this sound familiar?
Well, while you're finding that picture, I will say I did appreciate kind of what Avalon Hill did. If you're gonna have the orcs be just, they're still most orcs serve the dread forces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plenty to fight.
Not all of them do, and the ones that do were kind of conscripted, and it's been a couple of generations now, so you have the result of a couple of generations of you will serve or else,
Yeah.
and then you got the resistance to that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, just because there's the political aspect doesn't mean you can't do it well.
Yeah, well, in history, in real life history, which, why does that matter? Because this is just a game. You always demonize the enemy. That's always what happens in every war. And the war is over. It's awkward. It's awkward for a while, but it's like, oh, we're trading again.
The first casualty in any war is always the truth, right?
Yeah, first casualty. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I have a confession to make, guys. I placed an order for OrcQuest. So stovetop at my house.
I've got it. I haven't had a chance to play the game, but I've gone through all the pieces. I'm like, oh, this is so.
It only takes.
I love this.
It only takes a couple months to go through the deck of cards, right?
About that.
They give you. It looks to me like, okay, not only it's 2 games in one, but like each game is like, it makes me think of Betrayal. It's like, wait a minute, there's like a Trivial Pursuit amount of assets here.
Huge.
But in each individual scenario, you don't necessarily use all those. It's just they give it that to you for the variety.
Yeah. It's basically like, if you think about it, like the Mythic HeroQuest bundle was like, this is maybe all we're ever going to make.
So,
well, the expectation for HeroQuest was, this is all we are going to ever make. They might make something more out of it. I don't know. I sort of doubt it because I haven't heard anything more after it came out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if that's all they're ever going to make, holy shit, it's a nice kit.
Yeah. It's what they should do is they should break it up into smaller packs and release it like that. So, yeah, it's more accessible, because now it's just like, oh man, I'm investing in this huge game system. Like, what is it? I feel like you're gonna get some super fans, but they got me. Anyway, what I was gonna say is, yeah, so OrcQuest, so there you go. You get a chance to play as the other side. Even though it's obviously not HeroQuest, but it's clearly like
tongue in cheek.
Yeah, it's inspiration. It's parody. And I kind of like that. It's like they're the fun-loving bad guys. And maybe they're not, from their point of view, they're just having a good time. But you just don't want them anywhere near your village. So, okay. So speaking of rehabilitating,
just serving their god, badass.
Badass. Yep. These tiles. This is the best picture I could find at the moment. But people were saying, okay, in the arena, this looks like a dead body, and you're like looting the dead body to get the potion or whatever. I took it a totally different way. To me, it looks like a friendly skeleton with a pry bar in his hand who's like, hey, check this out. Look what I found. So I'm thinking, like, maybe the undead, they haven't been given a fair shake. I mean, just because they're controlled by evil magic, they were once farmers and knights, and, they smell a little bit, but, you don't judge by an appearance. So, they could get real jobs. And so yeah, maybe the undead are next. Yeah.
I mean,
He's in the bar, the
the-
skeleton.
the amount of-
he drinks the
the
beer
amount
and
of
it comes
people-
out the bones.
the amount of times I've seen arguments related to D&D over whether it's okay for characters to be judged being necromancers is like, you're not starting the rehabilitation of the idea of undead. It's been going on for years.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, we know Hellboy exists, so yeah, anything is possible.
But I mean, there are people who are like, yeah, my world has like essentially undead used as automated labor.
That's how it started. That's how it
And it's
started.
like,
Yeah, that was the whole point. It's like,
like like industrialization. Like,
So you're
you
saying
know,
the undead are used as slaves?
yeah. But it's like, it's like you realize that the rules say that if the person who raised them like misses their, concentration for whatever reason for a day, they all run amok and start uncontrollably trying to hunt the living. It's like,
see, that's how it starts. Yeah, well, but see, in science fiction, you always think that's how it always goes. It's like someone's like, "Oh yeah, man, we could just
as
create
long as we just never make a mistake, everything will be
We'll
fine.
make these robots. They'll do all the work for us, and we can just hang out. We can live in Wally, and we can just watch TV and eat, junk food all day. It'll be great." And then all of a sudden, they're like, "Wait a minute, why are we doing all the work?"
All of a sudden, they're turning us into batteries.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Even though that doesn't make sense to turn us into batteries, that's what they're doing because that's what the plot calls for.
Well, it's because they were created by humans, so they have a moral sense, and they choose vengeance.
So, yeah, yes.
They want to torture us because we tortured them. So
We don't have to turn you into batteries, but you know what? You pissed us off, so we're doing it.
I learned it from watching you, Dad. Okay, I learned it from watching you.
Learned it by watching you.
Yeah, well, and that goes back to Frankenstein. It's like it's all over fiction. Yeah, the stories are all there. So I guess we're just doomed to repeat those stories, just in different forms. Yeah. So anyway, so against the Ogre Horde, I'm excited to play it, and I think there's definitely some tweaks to be made.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
They gave us a
people,
lot.
Going to have different.
They gave us a lot in this box.
It's and it's like I said, right? The miniatures and the tiles are like maybe even an 11 out of 10. Like it's more than I was expecting out of this.
But this skirmish mode is like a game changer. I mean, it's like it could have been packed with anything, but it's tangentially related. They sort of set it up with the monk. It's like, okay, he's traveling around. No explanation. No explanation is here. If you're looking for answers, you will not find them. You must create the answers yourself, young grasshopper. So that's.
But as far as like what is the. But I think it's going to need. I'm a little annoyed at what I feel like is the amount of homebrew supplies that I'm going to need to make in order for it to kind of measure up to my own standards.
They know
that's always the way it goes, though.
They know.
Well, it just hasn't happened until now.
But
it feels like it was avoidable.
Going to get there.
Well,
I'm going to have to duck out of here, guys.
All right. Well,
you have a good night.
Thanks for joining us, iKarith. You have a good one.
Take care.
Yeah, man. All the best. Yeah, we should probably pack it in here shortly.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I got to go to bed.
Yeah, but I've enjoyed myself, and I'm glad you guys were here to share the moment with me. So, yeah, against the Ogre Horde, it's available now. I mean, just keep refreshing the page. Keep watching the skies. Keep refreshing the page. Eventually, you'll find it. So I guess we didn't really want to talk about the Druid much, did we? Did you have anything to say about the Druid, other than?
You mean like the new sculpt?
Yeah, I mean it's the same. Yeah, it's the same character, just looks different.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. It's neat. I just having more miniature options is rarely a bad thing. In my opinion.
I like it better than the old one. I mean,
See, I never really understood all the hate for the old one. I thought the old one was fine.
well, it started out as the idea was simplicity. It's like, you know what? I wanted to create just this gal hanging out in her workout clothes, and people were like, this looks so boring. This doesn't even look like this looks like, just somebody made a generic miniature and threw it in. So it's like, okay, fine, we'll add more detail, add more leaves, add more feathers, more jewelry, and it's like it kept getting more and more elaborate. So now we've come all the way to this where you have these fully realized characters that people want to paint and design. I guess I'm not against the idea of simplicity, but yeah, it was not well received. So, I mean, they listened to the feedback at least, I guess. But you would have been fine with the yoga pants or
I
whatever.
mean, I thought the feedback was well
Yoga shorts.
earned by the original concept art, but like I think that the miniature that we got is fine. Is basically
Oh, in
saying
the final Hazlet for the 2021 version was fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with the one we got.
Hmm.
It doesn't bother me at all.
So you would have been more just like, yeah, just have a male and a female version done. Good enough.
Yeah, it's like they didn't need to make a new druid sculpt for me, but I think the one that they gave us is cool.
Yep. Yeah, there's different kinds of druids, they're not all the same height.
Yeah, I know some people don't seem to like the kind of the branching into different types of creatures, different types of fantastical.
Yeah. Well,
I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem with having halflings and gnomes and whatever else in my HeroQuest game.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Manganiello already gave us the gnome, David. Well, I don't know if he's named David. He could be David the Gnome in Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. But yeah, but most of the community doesn't have that one, so they don't see it. But I could say, well, all right, this stuff existed in Warhammer Fantasy, so them dipping back into that collective,
yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, it's fine. It feels like it fits, even if you didn't know about it. So if you're gonna change something, at least going back to that fertile soil. I hate to use the example, but it's kind of like The Mandalorian. Like a lot of that stuff in that show didn't work for me, but a lot of it did because it felt like, okay, it's not in Star Wars, but it's going back to like the inspirations of Star Wars. So it almost feels like it could have been something that George Lucas might have used, at some point down the line. So, I mean, there's worse ways to branch out and expand your lore, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've pretty much covered it then. Anything you want to plug here at the end?
Not that I can think of.
All right, Karningul, ladies and gentlemen, check out his take on Against the Ogre Horde, found on Ye Olde Inn. And if you come up with a new one and a new
it'll
dark
be
company,
on my it'll be in my Google Drive when it's ready.
Yeah.
All my current remixes are already there.
And you're on the HeroQuest fans Discord, and also, do you go to the Avalon Hill one or?
I'm also on the Avalon Hill one. Yes.
Yep. So find Karningul, and definitely check out Phoenix's interpretation of Against the Ogre Horde. Just keep in mind, I mean, he just like Avalon Hill, there's some rough spots to it. You may not agree, but at least you get another perspective, and maybe your version could be that much better or that much more tuned to what you do. And with iKarith, I mean, Peasant Quest, yeah, it sounds like a big project, but if he ever puts it out there, I mean, I think people would appreciate it, especially folks where it's hard to get HeroQuest in their region and they want to, and who knows what happens with Hasbro in the future, right? So
yeah,
maybe it's time will come, because if we go back to like 2018 where all we had was the fan community, it's like, yeah, it might be that way again. I like the fan community. I mean, we all are like, wrong. I'm going to do it my way. But in the end, the result is all these mods that you can just pick up and just plug it in, like a pack of Legos into what you want and go for it. And just go wild. It's good. All right, cool. Well, all right. We'll have Karl Casey at White Bat Audio on YouTube play us out. It's like, what does that even mean? There's no words. to play us out. RantCast.